Hi, it's me, and it's the latest episode of Built from Scratch on the 23rd of September 2020. Yesterday was a day of two halves. It started off quite well and finished with a bit of frustration. So I started off finishing off the site migration. Or, well, I don't know if you should call it a site migration exactly. It's more like a site cloning, since I was keeping the original. But I finished off that process. I found the documentation of Updraft Plus migration add-on to be quite straightforward to use. So the whole process only took, I think, probably about 20 to 30 minutes. And worked smoothly, no problems at all. I'm just trying to remember if there was anything I had to change or update on the new site at all after it was done. I don't think there was off the top of my head, so that was good. I then had to actually go home and look after the kids for a couple of hours whilst my wife went off to a chiropractor appointment. The reason why I mention stuff like this, in case you're wondering, is because it's how I progress with this business is going to be dependent in no small part on certain life circumstances that are not actually part of the business but surround it. And obviously the any time that I have to take out of the working day to go and do other stuff has a noticeable impact. And I think for anyone who watches this stuff, it's important to recognise that these things do get in the way, and almost 100% of the time when you're listening to people talk about the businesses that they've set up or the successes they've had, it does tend to focus on short accounts of specifically the successes they've had and what they've achieved after X amount of years of doing it, and they don't account for the things that got in the way. So part of what is hopefully mildly interesting about this experiment is that I am going to be talking about all of the failures and the successes that I have and what goes into making those failures and successes. So anyway, that was a couple of hours out of yesterday. I then got back to work and cracked on with implementing hreflang tags. It took a while, just because it was a process that needed repeating for every page on the website. And that makes me think, if I've written these notes chronologically, have I done it for the other site? I don't actually remember doing so, but then I'm not that great at remembering repetitive tasks, so maybe I did. But I will just make myself a note to check that when I finish this. Yeah, I think I did. I did search for a plugin that speeds up the inputting of the hreflang tags, but I couldn't find one. It shouldn't really be much of an issue, because this is probably the only time where I'm going to have to input the tags for a whole load of pages at once. From now on, it should just be a sort of 2-minute job at the end of the creation of any page on the site. And whilst that will add up to a lot of time over the years, it's only a couple of minutes each time, and therefore there's probably not a sort of fast bulk way of doing it. So I didn't spend too much time looking for that option. I then wrote a quick guide to myself on how to do it. It's fairly simple, but I find that small jobs that I just do now and again, I often kind of forget parts of how to do them, if you don't do an action often enough, it doesn't really embed itself in your head. I'll be doing this often enough that possibly that will be the case, but I figured just in case it was worth spending 10 minutes writing a guide on how to do it. I then made a sort of randomly discovered, just whilst I was looking for something else in the source code of one of the pages of the site, that apparently Wordpress Core, which is the, as you might guess from the name, the core code of a WordPress install before you've added any content or any plugins, WordPress itself, in other words, adds self-referencing canonical tags to every page and post in a WordPress website, which is quite annoying considering what I'm trying to achieve at the moment, because I don't want canonical tags on any page. I want hreflang tags to handle the intra-region canonicalization. And if I use canonical tags at all, ever, it will be manually for specific pages and specific reasons. So that would have been a minor inconvenience if it turned out to be easy to rectify. You would have thought that there would be a way of just going into WordPress and saying, please don't do that anymore. But there isn't such a way of doing it. I spent ages yesterday reading all kinds of documents about ways that you could do it, but couldn't find any, to the point where I'm fairly convinced there is no simple way of doing it. So that was a really annoying end to the day, sort of 2 or 3 hours I think it was spent on that. I have got a bit of a spoiler. Well, let's just say I'm actually now a couple of hours into this day's work, and that situation is now rectified, albeit it took a fair bit more time and researching and trying a few things out, but I'm fairly certain I've now solved it, but I'll go into that tomorrow. So I suppose all I've got to say about this now is just that several weeks into this project, I find that I am still wrestling with technical issues, which I'm aware of are an aspect of using WordPress rather than one of the more fixed kind of options. It's okay, because I do have enough time on my hands and I have just about enough expertise to battle through these WordPress issues. But it really is a bit of a time drain. I've stopped predicting for myself when I'm going to be done with these things and actually ready to move on to writing a bit of content, because it just seems every time I think I'm about to get there, 2 or 3 new things crop up. So I'm just going to say, at some point I'll be done with them. And in fairness, a large part of the reason why this is happening is because since this is a long-term project for me that I'm going to try and do really well, it does matter to me to get stuff right now so that it doesn't cause bigger problems in the future. So I don't regret the fact that I'm putting this time and effort into making things good from the start. It's just frustrating that it's requiring so much effort. Anyway, that was it for work, so I don't think I've got anything else to tell you about yesterday, and I will just get on with it and see you later.